Hello, Internet friend. Today on Value Side, the trillion-dollar alien, how the Congressional Budget Office turns a liability into a political positive. I'm David Ravel. Well, it's proven to be one of the most unpopular government policies of all time. It's our open borders. By most estimates, nearly 10 million illegal aliens have crossed the U.S. southern border during the 3.5 years of the Biden-Harris administration. For Kamala Harris, the issue of immigration has become her number one obstacle in her trek to the White House. Most opinion polls suggest that over two-thirds of the American public consider this mass immigration to have a negative impact on the country, a costly drain in our economy at a time when we can ill afford it. If the Harris campaign could turn the immigration invasion into a positive, it would go a long way in securing Kamala's presidency. Enter the Congressional Budget Office. The CBO is considered one of the premier government research organizations designed to provide Congress with objective, bipartisan research on the country's financial position. Each year, congressmen refer to the CBO's budget projections to give a well-reasoned look into the future of every president's proposed budget. However, one can't help but wonder if the CBO, like much of Washington, is being infected with Potomac fever, that not-so-rare disease that turns every question into a political one. After all, the odds are so great that often billions, perhaps even trillions of dollars ride on the congressional votes. With multi-trillion-dollar budgets, the United States president has become the world's most significant customer, sending billions of dollars to our allies, mandating the types of automobiles we'll drive, and investing in novel medical procedures. It all begins with the president, from Ukraine to electric vehicles to the COVID-19 vaccine. So with that background, I was particularly interested to see the latest publication from the CBO titled, quote, Effects of Immigration Surge on the Federal Budget and the Economy, unquote. Now, the opening paragraph sets the terms of the study. Quote, the number of people entering the United States has increased sharply in recent years. Most of the increase comes from a surge in people whom the Congressional Budget Office categorizes as, quote, foreign nationals. Based on the pre-2020 trends, CBO would have projected the net immigration of people in this category to average around 200,000 per year. In the agency's projection, the net immigration of foreign nationals exceeds that rate by a total of 8.7 million people over the next 5 years. Now notice, instead of the term illegal alien, the CBO uses the term foreign national. The CBO also projects the number of new foreign nationals at 8.7 million plus 200 million per year. That's about 9.7 million all the way out to 2026. However, most observers think that number has already been exceeded. Probably 10 million foreign nationals have come through the borders since President Biden was inaugurated on January 20th, 2021. At the current rate, there would be nearly 20 million foreign nationals in the country by 2026. Admittedly, a difficult number to ascertain, the number of foreign nationals residing within our borders is critical in determining their contribution to the economy, either positive or negative. By lowballing their numbers, the CBO minimizes their impact. Now, we've come then to a fundamental question. Are foreign nationals a positive, contributing to the economy, or a negative expense for the country? Put another way, will these new immigrants become productive members of our society? And here we come to the critical paragraph. Quote, education and income. On average, adults in the surge population are less educated than those in the general population in the CBO's projection. About half of the people age 16 or older in the surge population have only a high school education, or less, upon arrival. Pay special attention to the category high school education or less. No self-respecting social scientist would use such a broad category as this. What does it mean? In the United States, this category would likely be dominated by the high school dropout. Someone who has received 8 to 10 years of education, has some basic skills in reading and arithmetic, can likely sign their name, and can operate a smartphone. While they may not have a high school diploma, they can function in today's society. But that's probably not the case for many of the new foreign nationals who've come on board. These new immigrants are likely to have far less education than the equivalent American, less than high school. This new CBO category is inherently misleading and much too broad to make any projections from it. The general accepted category for people with limited education is literate or not literate. It's the group that most social scientists, international organizations, and researchers use to categorize someone's proficiencies in basic skills such as reading and writing. Literacy is the key to determining someone's economic future. Even without a high school diploma, someone who is literate may have a bright future. In contrast, someone who is illiterate would have a much more difficult time functioning in the 21st century America. Literacy rates have been studied and followed for decades, and we have excellent data on each country's literate population. Here we can clearly see some trends. In relatively homogeneous countries with advanced economies, literacy rates tend to be high. This includes many countries in Europe, Asia, and even some of the Middle East. However, in more heterogeneous countries, literacy can be far less. Some countries like Japan, Korea, Poland, and Armenia have literacy rates of 100%. Conversely, countries with struggling economies generally have poor literacy rates. Countries in this group include Pakistan, 45% illiterate, Haiti, 51% illiterate, and Afghanistan, 51% illiterate. There is a clear correlation between education and future economic success, and the CBO uses this correlation in their report. The CBO assumes that the new foreign nationals will have the same economic future as Native Americans, people who are fully acculturated, they speak the language, they know the customs, who are reasonably literate and adapt to our commercial system. Therefore, the CBO uses the same projection for foreign nationals as for native-born ones. They thereby project that in a decade, these new members of society will contribute at the same rate as the older Americans, ultimately contributing up to $1 trillion in tax revenue, a specious argument at best. Regrettably, this is likely not news to the Congressional Budget Office. I've come to the same conclusion as John Williams over at Shadow Stats. For many years, he's been demonstrating that there is almost always a twist or a spin to nearly every government report. By changing a number here or there, 10 million aliens instead of 20 million, adopting a new term, foreign nationals instead of illegal aliens, or altering criteria, high school education instead of literacy, these agencies can influence our elections and move the direction of the country. And that's today's Value Side. For all of our articles, references, and podcasts, visit valueside.com. I'm David Ravel. ValueSide is independently written and researched. The views expressed are strictly my own.